Welcome to another episode of PHY 367 Statistical Physics 1. आज हम देखेंगे स्पेसिफिकेशन ऑफ स्टेट ऑफ ए सिस्टम इन क्लासिकल मैकेनिक्स. लास्ट टाइम हमने क्वांटम सिस्टम की स्टेट को स्पेसिफाई करना सीखा था और हमने सीखा था कि एंसेंबल क्या होता है और कैसे बनाया जाता है और उसका क्या रोल है. हमने ये डिस्कस किया था कि जब लार्ज नंबर ऑफ़ पार्टिकल्स होंगे तो उस केस में हमें पार्टिकल का बिहेवियर और सिस्टम का बिहेवियर स्टडी करने के लिए हमें एंसेंबल डिफ़ाइन करना पड़ेगा और एंसेंबल एवरेज डिफ़ाइन करनी पड़ेगी. तो आज हम स्टार्ट करते हैं स्पेसिफिकेशन ऑफ स्टेट ऑफ अ सिस्टम इन क्लासिकल मैकेनिक्स. सो इन क्लासिकल मैकेनिक्स we have if we have n particles in a classical system, if we have n particles in a system, so it can be such that the state of a system, is described by n generalized coordinates n generalized coordinates को हम लिख सकते हैं in the shape of q1, q2, q3 and up to qn. इसी तरह उस सिस्टम्स के हमें and there are n generalized momentas ये चीज़ें आपने क्लासिकल मैकेनिक्स में पढ़ी हैं अच्छे तरीके से. So there are n generalized momenta. So if we transfer this into phase space, the phase space for this system will be having 2n coordinates. So phase space का कंसेप्ट आपको क्लियर करने के लिए मैं एक छोटी मिसाल देता हूँ, छोटी सी एग्जांपल देता हूँ. कंसिडर वन पार्टिकल. I mean, you will get to know that what that n stands for and what that 2n stands for. So for example, we have one particle so one particle in one dimension, a particle moving on a line, so it has one coordinate. So to specify this system of one particle, we need one coordinate, I mean the location of that particle. We call this x. So that is location of the particle, and we need one velocity or momentum, v, and if we now want to transfer it to phase to if we want to show it geometrically, now if we want to show it geometrically, so we will replace x with generalized coordinate q, and we will replace momentum or velocity to the generalized coordinate p, where q and p are generalized coordinates and momentum. This is a singular, so that is coordinate, generalized coordinate and momentum. If we draw it in 2 dimensions, so on this axis, on this scale, we plot q, and on y-axis we plot p. So our system will be represented by a point on this 2-dimensional space like this. So this point has coordinates p and q, and this 2-dimensional space that we created is known as phase space for a particle in 1 dimension. So for a 1-dimensional particle we have a 2-dimensional space. Similarly, if we have now n particles, our space would be that times multiplied, and that's why we wrote here on top of it, if we have n particles, so we'll have n coordinates and n velocities, and then our phase space. So this is called phase space. I write it in front of this. This is the phase space, and for n particles, so we cannot imagine it. So n dimensions, we don't have imagination for that. We can maximum imagine 3 dimensions. So n dimensions is like a theoretical thing for you, but it is very useful for our description of number of particles and for our calculations. So now if our particle moves in our normal space from one position to another position, so this point PQ will also move. So it will move in some other direction, and our final position would be some other point Q prime, P prime in this phase space. So in normal space it will move on a straight line somehow. In phase space it will move at a different point. We don't know whether it would be a straight line or not, but it would be a different point. And this is really excellent terminology for describing large system of particles in classical mechanics. But there is a problem that the points in phase space, so a particle can the next position of this particle, this point PQ, can be anywhere on this 2-dimensional phase space. So it's like a continuous function on this phase space. So in that case, if we want to represent, if we want to calculate the or determine the phase space, or what we call it, we want to determine the number of microstates in this configuration, number of microstates for this type of system. Because this is a continuous space, so we have to somehow devise another method to do that. So what we do, we divide this whole space in smaller units like this. So if you can see from this graph, so we have divided this space into smaller square shape or rectangular shape units, and each of these squares has a dimension delta q and the other dimension delta p, and we can now determine how many number of if we do this division large enough, then we can say that it has some kind of two-dimensional volume in it. So we can write, okay, so the volume in this case will be d p p q. So this volume element will help us determine the number of microstates in some particular area or volume, which what we call it. How we do that? So we do it via density function or functional. So we define a density function to determine number of microstates in a specific volume. So we define it like rho qp gives us rho qp, rho as a function of qp times dq dp gives us the number of states or microstates, however you call it, number of states in the volume dq dp. It's a very useful function or functional, and this, if this volume is very small, that it may contain one particle or one state, and it can be bigger, that it may contain several states. But there is a lower limit of this volume element. It cannot be much smaller than we have Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which says that this, from Heisenberg uncertainty principle, this volume H naught should not be smaller than h cut by half. That is, this dq dp should always be greater than or equal to h cut by 2, which means that if we use this limit, then classical mechanics can be used with uh, a decent enough accuracy. So we can use classical mechanics. If this restriction is fulfilled, we can use classical mechanics in place of quantum mechanics to that system. So this was the basic concept of phase space in 2 dimensions, and the classical volume element, and this number of states in that volume, how many they can be, how smaller that cell can be. Now we extend this concept a little bit beyond, and I give you some examples of some phase spaces related to some of our physics examples. For example, I give you first example of our free particle. So let's try to determine the phase space or in quantum mechanics we use this term accessible phase space or accessible states. So this phase space is exactly like how we calculated accessible states in quantum mechanics. So now we want to determine the phase space or accessible states of a free particle of mass m, which is confined. Free particle of mass m having energy E. So we know it has a fixed energy E, and it is confined to a box of one-dimensional box of length L. So energy of this particle can be given as E equals p square over 2m, where p is the momentum, and from this we know that momentum can be written as, it has two values, 2m e square root. So if we draw this now, we just draw in a normal space, and so it is analogous to our phase space. Okay, we do that. This is our coordinate space axis, this is momentum space axis, and now if we want to draw this, we will get our phase space as these two lines on two sides of the momentum axis. So these two red lines actually are this is plus 2me, this is minus 2me square root, and if it has a length L, then this is the length of this red line is determined by here, from this length L. So you see that these red lines are the accessible phase space. These the accessible phase space of the free particle but there is a problem. So the accessible the system itself is two-dimensional. So we have a position coordinate L and a momentum coordinate P, but the accessible space is okay. So I should correct this thing here. Okay, the accessible space is one dimension. So they are two lines, one line here, one line here. So there is a problem of dimensionality here. We don't have same dimensions. We do not have same dimensions for phase space and accessible phase space. So there are, so you call this whole thing as one phase space, and these lines which are compatible to energy, they are accessible phase space. So accessible phase space and the actual phase space has a dimensionality problem. How to resolve this problem? So there is a solution that instead of taking a fixed value of energy, instead of taking a fixed value of energy, E, we take energy in a small range of values, where this range should be, so it should be, it can be E, it can be between E and E plus delta E. Let's see how it reduces the dimensionality problem. So now the accessible phase space, if we have P equal to this, and E square root, then delta P would be square root of 2m 1 over 2 square root of E delta E, or delta P equals m over 2 square root of E delta E. So now if you plot this phase space, you will get a two-dimensional setup. So this would be the delta P. Now in our case we did not have any delta P in case of fixed energy, we had just one P and that's it. Now when we put energy in some range, so if delta energy is in this range, our momentum will be somehow spread out, and now if we plot it, so if we plot them together, we get a phase space which is now two-dimensional strips. One is on the positive side of momentum, one is on the negative side of momentum, and this delta P is now given by this relationship in terms of delta E. So this delta E that we took as our range, that is described as this, so energy is between E and E plus delta E. So our dimensionality problem is gone when we are now using energy in some specific range instead of constant energy. Let's do another example of accessible phase space of classical harmonic oscillator. So harmonic oscillator is a very good system. So in that case, then Hamiltonian of this system, classical Hamiltonian, is written as H equals P square over 2m plus half k q square, where k is the spring constant. You know these systems very well, and q is the displacement. Let's rearrange this. Okay, we write this in the form of energy. So we write E equals P square over 2m plus half k q square, which means that we can now write it as P square over 2me plus q square over 2e by k equals 1. We call this equation 1, and if you compare it with the equation of, first we compare it with the equation of an ellipse. So ellipse equation is x squared over a squared y squared over b squared is equal to 1. So we get major and minor axes of that ellipse equal to a equals to me and b equals 2e over k square root. And we know that the area of ellipse is given by phi a b. So if we now calculate the area of this ellipse, that would be equal to 2 pi e into square root of m over k. And now if we have an energy in the range E and E plus delta E, so our phase space or accessible phase space So you should remember this definition. Which I should have been I should have introduced you to this in the previous example. So in our accessible phase space is equal to area of phase space, or sometimes we call it volume of phase space, which is compatible to the energy range between E and E plus delta E. This is the standard definition. Our accessible phase space or accessible states are basically area of phase space or volume of phase space which is compatible to the energy range between E and E plus delta E. So for that, so our original area of the ellipse was equal to 2 pi E times m over k, and now our accessible phase space, so we write it like this, that is a function of E with a constraint, so we write it like this, E semicolon delta E, that would be equal to differential of that area with respect to energy, and that would be 2 pi square root of m over k delta E. So this is a method, standard method of writing the accessible phase space. Omega accessible phase space and the first thing inside this bracket is that it shows that it is a function of the variable. So this is our variable. It can be single variable, it can be 2 or 3 variables, and the second thing after this semicolon is the constraint. In this case the constraint is energy. It can be a different constraint for a different system, but in case of harmonic oscillator in one dimension, the phase space or accessible phase space is an ellipse. I show you here. So it is an ellipse which has its this hyper surface or hyper area on the edges of this ellipse, this hatched area. Basically this hatched area is the accessible phase space of harmonic oscillator in one dimension. It has I show you clearly, and it has this thickness is given by this formula that we have calculated here. This is the thickness of that hyper okay, so I have to multiply it with the dimensions, its dimensions also, that is two pi m over k delta E. So the interesting fact about this thing is that although the accessible phase space is a function of energy in the range delta E, but still it does not depend on energy. It depends on the increment of energy only. It does not matter how big, how large is the value of energy. It will not depend on this number itself, but it will depend how much is the increment in energy. This is really interesting in case of harmonic oscillator, and we will discuss this during our next class. But it's really fascinating to know that it's a very simple system. Harmonic oscillator in one dimension. It can be a mass spring system or like a pendulum system, anything it can be, but you have to be careful using these K and these constant terms here. So for the time being, consider this as a mass spring system. So K is spring constant in this case. So now I will extend the notion of accessible phase space for many particles. Let's assume, consider the case of n particles of a gas, each of mass m, in 3-dimensional space, and to determine its accessible phase space, omega, what we have to do, we have to integrate on all space its coordinates. Okay, this is not accessible phase space, or I will say general phase space, not accessible. I removed the word accessible from this. So the general phase space. So for general phase space, we need to determine the area or volume of the hyperspace. Volume of the hyperspace because there are n particles in that gas, so we need to have hyperspace of 6n coordinates, 3n coordinates and 3n velocities. 3n coordinates and 3n velocities. Which means that to determine the phase space, we have to, we don't have to compute, but okay, I just mentioned it. So the requirement is that one need to evaluate these integrals. And 3n coordinate integrals and 3n velocity integrals or momentum integrals. T are n cube times multiplied with d cube p1 times d cube p2 so on, and d cube pn or last integral. And the coordinates somehow depend on the volume of that container in which this gas is. So assume that we have a container, assume the gas is confined in a container of volume V, but these momentum integrals would be in the range, so all these momenta would be in the range So if I say they are squared, so they are in the range of 2me to 2me plus delta E. So all these momentas are in this range. I did not put on under these integration signs, but you should remember that we are wishing to calculate the overall phase space, and if we put now the energy range thing, then that would be accessible phase space of this system of n particles which are free to move in a container. So there is a small trick. So these actually we don't need to evaluate each integral here. So each particle will be confined in that container. So the maximum volume it can occupy is V, and if there are n particles, so we can just simply approximate these coordinate integrals as V to the power n. So omega would be V to the power n times these momentum integrals, momentum or energy integrals. And to evaluate these momentum integrals, we just do some trick. So you know that for any sphere in 3 dimensions, for a sphere in 3 dimensions, its volume V is, look, I write V, that is 4 by 3 pi r cube. R is the radius. Of the sphere. And now if we want to create a volume element of this sphere, so d of that volume, that is the volume element, that would be equal to 4 pi r square dr. This was for 3 dimensions. So if that would be d in n dimensions, the nth volume element, if we want to calculate, remember this n here, that would be some constant. This is some constant, so we write it Cn, and then the radius of that sphere, one dimension less than the actual dimension of that sphere. So we write it Rn minus 1 times dr or delta r. So this is a volume element. This lower equation is volume element in n dimensional hyperspace. That's how we can write it. And now if you consider this momenta integrals, all of them, so this is 3-dimensional system, and we have a range of energies between 2me and 2me plus delta E if we convert these momentum squares into energy. So 3-dimensional space actually gives rise to a spherical symmetry. So here we have a spherical symmetry, so we can replace all these integrals with some spherical volume element in terms of energy. So what we do, we use exactly this hypervolume technique that we used for simple case. And what we do, we have first integral we just approximated it with v to the power n, and now this momentum integrals we can just replace them with this term here, cnr to the power n minus 1 dr. This is really like easy trick. So what we do, so we say accessible phase space now, accessible phase space omega, which is a function of E in the range delta E. So we use the convention E in range of delta E, and it's also a function of volume, so I should incorporate that thing also here. It's a function of volume as well, and also it's a function of number of particles, and then I put a semicolon here and then delta E. So that is basically equal to v to the power n and Cn for n dimensional sphere. And remember that this n we will have to replace. So this n is basically equal to 3n in our case. Okay, so 3 coordinates of momentum of n particles. So this is you have to imagine this whole system. So our accessible phase space is E V n delta E. If we replace now n with 3n, so it will become m over 2 1/2 power C3n. C3n is a constant that is similar to our constant here, 4 pi constant. It's C3n is a constant in case of a hypervolume. So you will get this value from this book that we are studying. At the end of this book we have an appendix for this kind of things. For any number of particles actually we can get these constant values, and times 2m raised to the power 3n minus 1 over 2 times v to the power n times e to the power 3n over 2 minus 1 times delta E. So this is our hypervolume or accessible phase space for n particles in 3 dimensions which are contained in a volume V, and this gives us actually hyper sphere kind of thing. You should imagine a sphere in n dimensions that you cannot. So you can imagine a sphere in 3 dimensions, and you see that the states lying between E and delta E as a hollow sphere, but which has a thick skin of the amount delta E. So if you cut a ball, the thickness of that ball is this delta E, in simple words. So that was it. That was today's lecture of accessible phase space in classical mechanics. Next we will do this Liouville's theorem and ergodic hypothesis and discuss some things about that. So till then, bye.